Hello and welcome to Build Your Best Ever Cheeseboard with the Fine Cheese Company and the Academy of Cheese for the Big Cheese Weekender 2023. We want to see your best ever cheese boards. So please put together your favourite cheeses, take a photo and send it to members@academyofcheese.org. And don't forget to put a description of what you've included in your board. The prize up for grabs is a level 1 associate course and 10 cheeses to taste along. So, your best ever cheese board. Where do I start? My name's Ruth Raskin and I'm the head of cheese care and quality at the Fine Cheese Company. And I'm here in Bath at our beautiful shop with this full wall of cheese behind me to choose from. So where do I start? So, when I'm building a cheese board, I want to take my guests on a journey. I like to think of it as maybe from light to shade, or from youthful exuberance to serious maturity. But either way, what we're looking for is a little journey to take your taste buds on a little trail of delight. So I'm going to start with Brightwell Ash. Now, this is a good cheese to start with because it's lactic, it's light, it's bright, it's zesty and fresh. It's got some age to it. You can see there's this little gorgeous vermiculated rind on it. So that's going to bring a bit of extra depth and complexity to it. But I'm looking for a cheese to start our journey with a little brightness and a little joy to it. So this is made by Fraser Norton and Rachel Yarrow in Oxfordshire. And they are the most thoughtful and delicate cheesemakers. And I love the way they take care of their goats. They graze outside as much as possible. If you think when you travel the countryside in England, you don't see a lot of goats grazing outside. But if you drive past their farm, you will. And the kids are kept with their mothers. And the whole system is just beautifully sustainable and thoughtful. So I'm starting with this. Where do I go next? I want to take us up a little notch in terms of intensity and flavour, but not too far yet. So I've gone for Bath Soft. Being in Bath, I had to choose a cheese from so close by. And this comes from the Padfield family's farm, which is just outside Bath. And they make cheese, they're third generation cheesemakers. And this was one of their earliest cheeses. Bath Soft is an absolute classic. You can see we've got a little bloomy rind going on here. So this is going to bring me some elements of kind of vegetal tastes to it, something maybe a little bit of roasted garlic, a little bit of cauliflower maybe going on. So you can see we've gone from the zesty, bright, yogurty fresh to something a little bit deeper, a little bit darker. We're on our way. After this, where shall I go next? There's different routes you could take. And if this was lunchtime, I'd probably be heading into the crumbly territorials, maybe a lovely hearty cheddar, something really robust. But this is evening. I'm going to be eating with my guests after a meal. So we've already eaten something. So I want to keep on that sort of slightly lighter mood in terms of texture. But I do want to up the ante a little bit with flavour. So I've gone for Roll Right. Now you can see we've got the most pudgy, gorgeous, silky, unctuous little cheese here. This is a washed rind cheese. So even though I'm sticking with the soft, I've changed the style. So this cheese has been washed with a salt water mixture, and that's attracting a whole different array of bacteria to the rind. And that's what gives us this little slightly peachy coloured, little bit blush peachy coloured rind. But you can see we've got gorgeous gooey unctuousness, and the flavours are going to be a little bit more meaty, a little bit more savoury, maybe a bit of kind of peanut in there, or perhaps some cured ham. So we're kind of going on this little journey a little bit further along into that kind of serious maturity that I was talking about before. My next cheese, I've gone for a crowd pleaser, but I feel okay about that because it's a blimmin' good crowd pleaser. So this is Alp Blossom, and you can see this is covered in all the flowers and herbs of the Bavarian mountains where it's grown. You've got that kind of lovely, smooth, supple, sweet cheese that you find in those kind of classic Swiss mountain cheeses and French mountain cheeses, and in this case, a German mountain cheese. But it's just covered in this little array of herbs and flowers. And while that looks beautiful, it's not just there for the prettiness. It's also going to bring lovely floral notes, savory notes. You've got a little bit of onioniness going on in there. And that's going to give us a real interest to the next stage on our journey for our cheese board. It's a bit messy though, so let me just tidy my hands a little bit. And for my last cheese, I'm going to end on a blue, which is obviously a really classic thing to do. But I thought about how I wanted to end, and I thought, let's go for something quite punchy, because we've had these kind of softer textures here, and then we've gone into that smooth mountain cheese, and now I want to give a little bit of a pizzazz to the final one. So I'm going for quite a grown-up blue here, and this is Gorgonzola Picante. As you can see, it's got some fairly serious bluing. Now, balance that with the texture, which is really fudgy and rich and delicious. Potentially a little bit controversial. Not all your guests are in love with blue, and so to choose a kind of big punchy blue is possibly a brave choice. But I just think this is a cheese which is vastly underrated, and I love it. And whenever I give it to my guests, I do find that they really enjoy it as well. So that's my little journey of cheese. Now, what do we want to put with it? Well, of course, you need something to put your cheese on. I say of course, some of us are quite happy to just dive in and, eat a bit of cheese on its own. But most of my guests like to have something with it. If it was lunchtime, like I say, I'd probably go for a lovely, big, chunky piece of sourdough. But it's evening, we're all a little bit full after our meal, and so I want something nice and delicate to put it on. I'm going to start with the Fine Cheese Company charcoal squares, which we make in our bakery in Derbyshire. And you can see they've got this gorgeous dark colour to them, and that is going to look so pretty when you put that piece of lovely soft goat's cheese on it. It's quite a buttery cracker, and I love that with soft cheese. It's really beautiful. But I'm also going to offer something a little bit crunchy and a little bit different in flavour for my guests, because I know that they love that. So next, I'm going to do the toasted cheese, also made in our bakery in Derbyshire. And you can see it's studded with hazelnuts and dates. So really classic things to have with your cheese. Fruit and nut goes beautifully with cheese. But what we've made is this little loaf, which we cook and then slice very thinly and then bake again like a biscotti. And that gives us these little crunchy crackers, which are just beautiful with soft cheese. So, as well as that, I want something with a little bit of sweetness. Nice crunch to it and just a little touch of sweetness, not too much. So I've gone for a nice plain cracker. This is our all butter wheat, and it's just a lovely base for your cheese, but just with a little touch of something to go with it. So what else? We've got our cheese and our crackers. Now I could dive right in now, but let's just make it a little bit more interesting for our guests too. So I've gone for some cherry fruit cheese. Now this is like a beautiful little intense jam almost of lovely, beautifully cooked cherries. That sweetness is going to go very well with that early acidity that we had in the first cheese, and it's also going to work really well with the blue cheese too. In between, personally, I just love to kind of dive in with these cheeses on their own. I feel like they don't really need a lot else. I love my cheese so much, I just want to enjoy it. But this one, the first one and the last one, they do work really well with that too. And another element of sweetness, which is nice to bring in, is this Moscato grape nectar. And that is just going to drizzle, particularly on your blue cheese. And that's where I was saying the blue that I've chosen is quite bold and it is quite strong. And some of your guests might be a little scared of that. And if you just get them to just drizzle a little of this on top, I think you're going to find that you win the round. Now, what else? There's nothing like fresh fruit with cheese. Figs are a bit of an obvious option, but it is a good time of year for them, and they are really beautifully ripe at the moment. I wouldn't do them unless they were, they often can be a little bit dry in the middle, but these ones are really looking good. So I'm going to pop a little few of those in. However, it's the English autumn, so what do I want? I want apples and pears. Orchard fruits are just perfect at this time of year. We don't have to fly them in from anywhere. We've got our beautiful apples and pears here from our own country. And these are ones that my husband grew and picked for me yesterday. And so I like to cut these vertically just because it looks very pretty. So let's just do a few of those and you'll see what I mean. So, little horizontal cuts has given me this gorgeous star shape, which looks very pretty on the board. So I'm just going to layer up a few of those in here. And of course, beautiful conference pears are just going to be so great, especially with the blue, but really with everything. Fan out a little shape with your pears, keeping it at the top, and then we can just lay that on the board and make this beautiful little fan shape. Now I know a lot of people like to really fill their board so that you can't see anything underneath, and I do always think that looks really pretty and really impressive. But personally, I don't like crowds, I like a bit of space, and I like my cheeses to be the star of the show. So I've left a little bit of space around them so that it can really breathe and that you can get in there and cut it very easily with your guests. I've put another slightly left field thing in here, and that is a pan forty. And this is cherry pan forty with almonds and just a little touch of chili. Now this is going to go really well with the cheese. Also, dare I say it, kind of nice to have something if you've got guests that aren't absolutely crazy about cheese. I know you might think, what on earth does she do with friends who aren't absolutely crazy about cheese? And sometimes I do wonder that myself, but I do have a few. So, something really beautiful, really special, that's just gonna keep them happy is always quite fun to do. Now, again, a lot of people like to cut their cheeses up for their guests. And to be honest, if I was doing a buffet, I would do that because I think people get quite scared and they don't really know how to cut their cheese. They don't want to make a faux pas, they don't want to cut the nose off the brie, so they all get a bit scared and a bit nervous. However, this one, I am with my friends. I'm sitting down with them and I'm going to tell them all about the cheese. But even so, I quite like to do just a few little cuts here and there, just so they don't feel nervous and they know what they're supposed to do. So I just take a little piece out of this and just pop it on the side, and then everyone feels sure they know what's expected. Just cut into this. The nice thing about this is I get to show you how gorgeous it looks. If you just have a little look at that. Perfect condition, bath soft. Absolutely just waiting to be scooped up and eaten by your guests. And then this is obviously going to be easy. We just take it off here. Maybe take a little slice off here so people don't feel afraid and know what to do. And that is today's best ever cheese board. Next week, it'll probably be something completely different. So we want to see yours. We want to know what you think is the perfect cheese board. Put it all together, take a photo and send it to us. Put it on social media so that we can all enjoy everybody's beautiful cheese boards, and I look forward to seeing them. So I've made my best ever cheese board, but let's have a think about how you might like to put your cheese board together. The building blocks of a cheese board are usually that triumvirate of hard, soft and blue. So often cheddar, Stilton and brie, but you do whatever you like. And that is usually a really good place to start. Occasionally, controversially, I might literally do one cheese. If I've got a new season Mont d'Or that I want to show off to my friends, or let's say I've got a gorgeous piece of truffle Baron by God, but those flavours are so heady that I don't want anything else to interfere. But usually I'm going to start with at least 3 and then build up from there. So today I've gone for 5. This is a board that we're going to eat after dinner, so I don't want to overwhelm people with hundreds of cheeses. But it's a special day, I kind of want to do a little bit more than 3. So that's where I've got my hard, my soft and my blue, Bar Soft, Alp Blossom and Gorgonzola Picante. And that's where you can then sort of spread out to other styles. For me, I've got to have a lactic goat's cheese on every cheese board, so I had to put that there. And I am such a fan of the unctuous washed rinds that I wanted that there too. But you could easily have gone in a different direction. Perhaps a crumbly territorial, like Yoredale or Lancashire or Caerphilly, or you might have wanted to do different milks. I've only got 2 types of milks here, which I'm a bit sad about. I love a sheep's milk cheese, and sometimes I'll have one too, but this is just the board that presented itself beautifully to me today. But on another day, I might have brought in a lovely bit of Manchego, or another sheep's milk cheese, could be a soft sheep's milk cheese too. But what we're looking for is a beautiful variety. Like I said, something that takes your guests on that journey of delight through the board. Starting with something simple, moving up into something a bit more gooey and strong, and then ending with a little bit of a punch. But you can take it wherever you want. You can add more, go for 7 cheeses, 9 cheeses. But personally, I don't want to overwhelm my guests. I don't want to confuse them. I don't want them like looking at the board, where should I go, where should I start? You know, so often you'll see people go to the cheese board and the first thing they take is a blue. That's fine, do whatever they like. But for me, I want to do that little progression, and that's why I've made it nice and simple for them. I've gone around in a circle, starting here and going around, finishing with the blue. And that's just going to give people that journey, but not overwhelm them. And I think that's what I want to do. I want my guests to have a lovely time, really enjoy their cheese, but enjoy each one individually and not kind of get confused by the end of it. So that's why I've got my 5 cheeses here. But we want to see whatever you want to do. Show us your cheese boards. Okay, now let's eat some of this delicious cheese. So I'm going to start with a little bit of Brightwell ash, and I'm going to pop that on one of these beautiful charcoal crackers. And then I'm just going to top it off with a tiny little bit of cherry, just for that little burst of fruity sweetness. Now, let's keep going with the goo. I'm going to have some Bath Soft, and I'm going to pop this on that toast for cheese. So we've got a delicious, crunchy, nutty, datey bed for this gooey, unctuous cheese. So next, some of that lovely roll right. I'm going to go for this plain cracker because there's a lot going on with this little flavour here. And scoop it up. If you've got a little roll right, David Jowett also makes this in a baby version. So if you've got a little roll right, you could just scoop it out with a spoon. But I'm going to plop it onto here. And here we have a lovely bit of rich goo for your guests to enjoy. Just wipe down my hand a little bit. Then we're going for the Alp Blossom. So this, we want to get some rind. Don't be afraid of the rind, because we want to taste those flowers. We've got lavender, rose, parsley, oregano, and many other delicious things. So make sure you've got a little bit of that for your guests as well. And we're going to finish it off with that lovely punchy blue. And we're going to balance that out with a bit of sweetness from the Moscato grape nectar. A little drizzle, not too much. There we go. Let's give a little bit of pear as well. And we're ready to eat. So let's think a little bit about the prize that's up for grabs, because this is a good one, believe me. You're going to want to win this competition. So you win a level 1 associate course with the Academy of Cheese. If you don't know about the Academy of Cheese, honestly, you need to go and Google them. They are an amazing organisation that has done so much to promote knowledge and enthusiasm and development of the British cheese industry. And it's gone international too. So there are now over 5,000 students all over the world who've taken their level 1 associate course with the Academy of Cheese. And it's a wonderful way to learn more about it and to build those relationships within the cheese world where you just get to learn more all the time. You'll get a 12-month subscription to their online library. You'll get a book of the 25 cheeses that you study at level 1. You'll get 5 online webinars with an Academy of Cheese expert, and you'll get 10 cheeses to taste along while you're studying. And this is a wonderful prize that you're really going to enjoy.